Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid. It is a beautifully glorious morning here in Albemarle County, Virginia today. Hope it's beautiful where you are. Forgive me if I'm a bit winded here and a bit sweaty. I'm winded and sweaty, all because of a Buddhist monk and some sugar. That's right. Kind of out of breath a little bit and all sweaty because of a Buddhist monk that lives way high up on top of a mountain and some sugar. I'm going to explain that. You're probably thinking, oh my gosh, here we go. The morning ramble, Crazy Lake's already crazy. What's he talking about? Well, here's what I'm talking about. I just ran, not far, maybe a mile and a half. I ran easy for 10 minutes and I ran in some old worn out shoes around my fields. Here, 3 laps is a mile. Well, I ran about a mile. I ran about 3 laps. Took me 10 minutes, which that's not fast, folks. Well, compared to how fast I used to run a mile. What I can tell you is that the older I get, the better I was. So I ran. Here's what's going on. The theme of today's talk, my ramble, and I came up with this idea while I was sitting on the porch. It was still dark. I was drinking coffee. I was watching the deer out there in the front field. They looked like shadows. It wasn't even light enough to really, I could make out their silhouettes. That was it. But I was thinking about how so often in life, we talk ourselves out of doing the things that we want to do, and for no reason. This is similar to a talk I had a couple of weeks ago. I think that video was called Stop Iffing and Start Doing. That's where we come up with all these excuses to not do the things that we know we need to do. And I was talking about some responsibilities that day. We had like a safety net we had to build to put below our pond so that when the rains came and the floods came, it would catch the fish and keep the fish in the pond so that we would stop losing fish to the field every time the rains came. And we finally did that. We stopped iffing because we kept saying, well, if we just built this safety screen right here, we wouldn't lose our fish. So we stopped iffing and we started doing, we got that done. But guys, what I'm talking about here are the things that we enjoy, the things about life that we enjoy that we often talk ourselves out of doing. There are things we want to do that are often healthy, like the run I just did. They don't hurt anybody else, like the run I just did, and they're good for us. They just make us feel better, like the run I just did. And I mentioned this before, a lot of folks in Europe and Asia and even up in Canada, South America, around the world, because we have folks who watch from all over the world, they're not going to understand this to the degree that my fellow Americans will. America is the most overworked, under-rested society in the world. And we're raised, at least I was, and many of you were, to believe that if we do anything simply for recreational purposes or because we enjoy it, that we're to feel irresponsible, guilty, shamed, because if we're not work to the grind. I mentioned before, something like 1 out of 3 employees in America believe that taking a lunch break is lazy. And 1 out of 3 employers or bosses view their employees who take a lunch break as being lazy. It's insane. So I'm watching these deer this morning and I'm thinking about, okay, as of this recording right now, it's a Tuesday and we're only 4 days away from the first University of Virginia football game for the 2018 season. It's a home game here. We're playing the Richmond Spiders and I'm so excited to go. Dearly and Daniel are excited to go. A lot of you noticed yesterday I was wearing a new hat. That was a new hat. Dearly bought it for me at Mincer's. That's a little shop down on the corner, and they have one on 29 here, Stonefield, just a different part of town. That's where you buy all the UVA garb. Got a new hat because it's been a while since I bought it. This one's got the sweat ring. I run in it. I homestead in it. So anyway, bless her heart. She wouldn't let me buy her a shirt because she thought it cost too much money, but then she bought me a hat. I dragged her back to the other Mincer's yesterday and found the most expensive shirt in there. And I said, if you don't let me buy you the shirt that you wanted yesterday, I'm going to buy this one. And so she ended up getting the shirt that she wanted. She is so amazing. So anyway, here I go derailing again. The girl won't let me spend money on her. She grew up not having any money. She's from the Philippines, as you guys who are regular subscribers know. She knows what it's like to not have money and to not know where your next meal's coming from. So when we do have a surplus, the last thing she's going to spend it on is UVA garb or anything else that isn't necessary. Every now and then I can you know, sneak a purchase in there she doesn't see, so I can give her something that I know she likes that I want her to have. So anyway, I know me, and I know that I'll often talk myself out of doing things I want to do simply because it's not work related or work involved. So I mowed the grass recently over the last few days. I've been raking up the clippings, getting them together, rounding them up, putting them in the gardens to re-nourish the soil for next year. And I usually put my deck on level 4. I don't cut it too close because I don't want to burn it up if the sun comes out. Well, this time I put it on 3 because I want to go to that game on Saturday, and I don't want grass that's a little taller than it should be to keep me from going to the game because I'm taking my family to the game. So this time I cut it shorter, so that won't be my excuse. So I'm watching these deer, and I'm thinking about the game coming up. I'm thinking about how we love to go to the apple orchards around here. There's several to go pick apples. We love the fall festivals, which are going to be coming up soon, and we're taking you guys to all this stuff with us. We're going to go, we'll spend some time just doing the family thing, but then we're going to get a lot of it on camera so we can share it with you and take you with us. So I'm thinking of all these things, and I'm watching those deer, and I think, you know, those deer have no clue that it's football season. They don't know that we're 4 days away from the first home game. Those deer don't know that school just started back and that we just finished the first week of back to school. I'm sure those deer know the apples are coming into season or are in season. But, you know, life continues to go on. It continues to spin. And then you know how I have this crazy thinking. I started thinking about being in a groove or being in a rut. And I thought, why is it that when things are going good, we say we're in a groove? And why is it that when we feel that things are bad, we say we're in a rut? It's all about perspective. But the fact is, we just keep on going around, okay? And that's where the terminology being in a groove, like on a record, comes from. But even a rut, we eventually come out of it because that big old tire that left that rut goes into the mud. It makes a rut, but then it got back on the road and kept on going. So the good times will pass, the bad times will pass, but the fact is, life goes on, life continues, and the deer are oblivious to football season. Now, what's this have to do with a monk on a hill and sugar and running and doing what we want to do just because we want to do it without justification or excuse? In my mind, I'm always able to tie it together, and this is how I tie it together. Life goes on, and we're making a mistake if we don't go on with it. Sometimes things happen. You know, there's some very observant subscribers on here, and somebody commented here a while back that they notice the things I don't talk about, the things I can't say. They're there. A lot of you see it. And these are some of the tough times. I've been through them, and I know you've been through them, and you're going through them now. And this doesn't, I don't mean this to sound shallow or calloused or hard or cold, but that record in the world just keeps on spinning. And those deer just keep on coming out in my yard every day and doing what they do, and life goes on, and we owe it to ourselves and those who are with us that we love, but to ourselves, if no one else, to keep on going on with it. So why was I running, and what's it have to do with the monk? I've been a runner since I was 15 years old. I'm 44 now, so we're looking at roughly 30 years. It's something I love to do. It's something I've done throughout my life. There's been several periods of time where I haven't done it. Once was after Iraq. I didn't do it for 2 years because they told me I couldn't or wouldn't be able to without pain. It's such a part of my life. I got to a point to where I found life was not as enjoyable without it, and I eventually got back into it very slowly. And again, I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not giving physical therapy advice. I'm not qualified to give either. I'm just telling you part of my story. But I started with stretching, working on flexibility. I started walking, then I started jogging. And really, do I really run anymore? Probably not. I jog. What's the difference between running and jogging? Oh, about 5 or 6 minutes per mile. And those of you out there who run or jog know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll never see 4.5-minute miles again. I'll never see 16-minute 5Ks. I'll never see 34-minute 10Ks again. And I ran these times 20-some years ago. But I see putting one foot in front of the other at a quicker pace than I do when I walk, and getting my heart rate up and breathing hard and breaking a sweat and thoroughly enjoying myself. Because I just saw that this morning because I did it. And I am very content, and I'm very happy with that. And I feel blessed to be able to do that. So I do it. I ordered some new shoes recently. They were supposed to be here yesterday, and it didn't appear as if they came in. So I was going to use that as an excuse not to run again today. Here about a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, me and Dearly and Daniel were out doing a family walk out some old country road, and Daniel said he wanted to run. So I had on these shoes. Those are my older running shoes. And I knew they were broken down. The heels are kind of shot. And because of my past of running many miles, I know it's just not safe to run in shoes that are kind of worn out and broken down. But I'm thinking, well, he's a 7-year-old kid. How long is he going to run? 2 minutes? So I said, okay, buddy, let's run. So we just started jogging. I started running with him. The kid ran for 8 minutes. He's wearing me out. And so he finally stopped, not because he got tired, but because he wanted to look off into some field and look at a horse or something. So we stopped. I'm like, oh yeah. Well, the next day, my right heel had plantar fasciitis. It's where there's a tendon that attaches to the bottom of your heel, runs down the bottom of your feet, attaches to your toes. It came separated. Very painful. It burns. It hurts. And really the only, I mean, you can put compression, they call it RICE, rest, ice, compression, elevation. You can do all that. And Dearly does this wonderful thing she does where she rubs it. But I was out of commission for 5 days. It hurt to walk, but I certainly couldn't run. So I order a new pair of shoes. I'm waiting for them to come in. You know, I have no excuse not to get back into running now that I no longer work at the post office, where I walked up to 12 miles a day. So I stayed fit. But running is a completely different exercise. And just because you walk a lot of miles a day doesn't mean you're ready to just start running an equal amount of miles. So I've got to build back into it. Start out with 10 minutes, then 12, then 15, 20, work up to it. So I haven't been running the last few days because I don't have these new shoes. 2 days ago, I said to myself, because Dearly and Daniel were at that horse farm, you probably saw the video, I was home alone and I wanted to run. And I kept coming up with all these excuses why not to run. And the excuse I was using was my broken down shoes. But then I thought, you know, if I go slower than I think I should go, and if I stay on the grass, I think I can pull it off. Because I love to run. It's something I want to do. It's something I love to do. And it's something I've been talking myself out of doing recently. So I put on these old shoes, stretched out a bit. I came out and I jogged way slower than I thought I should to be safe. I stayed on the grass. I never got on the hard top. I jogged for 10 minutes, felt great doing it, and had no problems. No flare-ups with the plantar fasciitis. So here we are a couple days later, maybe 3 days later. I wanted to run. I was watching those deer. I was thinking about the game. I was thinking about picking apples, and I was thinking about running, and I was coming up with all these reasons to talk myself out of doing all of it, especially the morning run. And I thought, well, you know, I'm going to go up there and have the morning rumble today, or ramble, and talk about how we should do these things we want to do just because we want to. And I thought, listen to you, Kevin. Here you are sitting here. You just talked yourself out of running because your new shoes didn't come in, and you're going to go up there and you're going to tell other people that they should do what they want to do just because they want to do it. Here's where the monk comes in. This Buddhist monk that lives high atop the mountain, and sugar. Okay, I bring it back. I ramble a million different places before I get there, but I bring it back. So, you may have heard this. There was once this mother who had a child who ate too much sugar, and she didn't want her kid to eat sugar. So she heard that there was this Buddhist monk who lived in a temple high on the hill right outside of her town, out here in the outskirts of Albemarle County somewhere. It wasn't me. So she decides to take her child to this monk so that this monk will get her child to stop eating sugar, because she heard this guy's so wise, he gives the best advice, and he would have the answer. So she takes her child to see the monk. They sit there with the monk. She tells the monk the story. You know, my son, he eats too much sugar. Maybe it was a daughter. It was a child. My child eats too much sugar, and I can't get my child to stop eating sugar. So I brought my child here so you will convince my child to stop eating sugar. So the monk thinks about it, contemplates, does a little meditation. He says, okay, ma'am, bring your child back in 1 week. So the mother leaves, takes the child home, comes back a week later. They sit down. The monk looks at the child and says, my child, don't eat sugar. Sugar is very unhealthy for you. Stop eating sugar. Then he looks at the mother and says, okay, you are free to go. The mother says, is that it? Are you serious? You sent me home a week ago and told me to come back in a week so you could tell my child not to eat sugar? What sense does this make? Why did you do this? And the monk looks at the mother and says, because, ma'am, a week ago, I too ate sugar. Let that sink in. And remember, you can see a lot just from observing. So I'm going to let you observe for a second. You guys understand that story completely, don't you? And you understand why I ran this morning. not just because I want to, and not just because I didn't allow myself to talk myself out of it, because I wanted to come up here. And you know, a lot of folks say, you encourage me, you help me. You guys encourage me too. I like coming up here and doing the morning ramble, and sometimes I feel like I shouldn't do it, because there are a lot of folks that say, oh, you're crazy, you need help. Maybe this is how I get help, and maybe by me getting my help this way, I help somebody else this way too. So it's like a symbiotic relationship that frankly I enjoy, so I'm going to keep doing it. We took Daniel to the bus stop this morning, and there by the gate was a box from Amazon, and it had my new shoes in it. Well, I still ran in the old ones. You know why? Because I was concerned that if I sat down in a chair to change shoes and put on my new shoes, it would feel too comfortable to sit in that chair and that I wouldn't run. I know I've been mowing grass, and as you can see, if I can hold the phone right, I've got grass, wet grass all over these shoes. I was afraid I would use that as an excuse to not run in my new shoes. I didn't want to get them wet with the dew, and I didn't want to get them covered in grass. Guys, we've got to do what we want to do, and once we commit ourselves, we've got to stay committed. You know, I was looking through the spam comments this morning. I don't know why, but sometimes YouTube will flag things as spam because I put certain keywords in there, like foul language, that if you use in the comments, it's just not going to get published on the channel, because we don't talk like that. Our regular faithful subscribers don't talk like that, and we just don't want to see that kind of language. So I was going through there, but sometimes comments get put in there, and I don't know why, because there's no foul language. It's nothing derogatory. You're not telling me how stupid I am and all these things. Some of them are, I found some comments this morning. There was one from a subscriber named Awoken, and it looked like it was 2 weeks old. And Awoken, I wasn't ignoring your comment. I just didn't see it because I never checked the spam side. But Awoken shared about how, and I don't know if it's a he or she, but they found me at a time of healing for them, a time of moving on for them. They talked about how their father had died. They're helping their mother. They shared about how they lost a brother to a drunk driving event here some time ago, and how rough that was, and how these morning rambles help them. And Awoken, you helped me by being here to listen and let me ramble. I mean, these rambles help me. But Awoken likened life to, you know, I was talking about a record. Awoken likened it to a roller coaster, and about how really it's about a tightrope between roller coaster cars. And Awoken said that they've found that fine line, and we've got to live right there on that fine line. And I couldn't agree more, because that's living. That is living. That's not existing. That's not participating. That's not watching. That's living. Folks, like it or not, life is one big roller coaster ride. There's ups, there's downs. Sometimes you think everything's calm, and they say when the wind's at your back, prepare to duck. The turns are coming. The loops are coming. We don't know when, but we've got to hang on, because we're going around again. And we're walking that fine line, and we got to walk it, guys. We got to walk it. So get out there and do the things you want to do. A lot of you have been commenting, you live in the city, you like these videos because you miss the country. Is it getting in your car and going for a ride out in the country? Is that the thing you want to do that you always talk yourself out of? Stop. Get in the car and take a drive out in the country. Do you live in the country and you kind of want to go into town or go into the city and just people watch for a while? We do that once a week, probably. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Jump in the car, go do it. Is there a book you've wanted to read? Is there a book you've wanted to write? You know, like I was talking about 2 weeks ago, stop biffing, start doing. So that's your morning ramble for this morning. I know it took a long way to bring it around to what it had to do with a monk on a hill and some sugar and a run and how it was all connected. But guys, I'm going to the UVA football game this Saturday. Rain or shine, snow, sleet, or hail. If I could deliver the mail for 6 months in those sort of conditions, because I kind of had to at the time. It was my job, and I needed, you know, we needed to do that there for a time. I can certainly go out and do something I enjoy. Now, this is barring catastrophe, but I'm still not going to go dig my 20-foot bunker out here on the homestead in case that tragedy comes between now and game day on Saturday. But you get my point, okay? I want to thank each and every one of you for being here with me. I want to thank all of you who have subscribed. I think, what is this? This time last week I was talking about how we hit 50,000 subscribers, and I couldn't believe it. I think right now we're at 52,000. Just keeps going up. Thank each and every one of you for being here. Please hit like, hit share so we can invite others to come. They're probably going to come, maybe say something so nasty about how crazy I am that it ends up in a spam filter, but maybe not. Maybe they'll get something out of it. So I'm going to give you a parting shot of the homestead here. And I'm gonna walk down there and do some more things that I wanna do just because I wanna do them, and I hope that you do too. See you next time.